Okay guys, this is going to be a fun one. We're going to learn how to do these 4th of July ruffle dresses. There's two options in this video. You can do one with the shorter ruffles, which I think is super cute, or you can do one with longer ruffles, and I did a star stitch at the top of this one, so you can change it up to whichever one you want. For one of them, I used the Premier Just yarn from the Dollar Tree, and then the other one I used red heart yarn. So you can use any kind of yarn you want, as long as it is a number 4 medium weight yarn. Alright guys, so I'm using a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, which is a 9 or an I, and I'm going to start with my red. So I'm going to start with a slip knot. So the way I do a slip knot is I wrap my yarn around my fingers twice. So I have 2 strands in the front and then 1 strand in the back. My tail end is at the top in the front, and then I pull my back end forward so I have an X on my fingers, and then I just keep pulling that forward as I open my fingers, so now the back end is in between my fingers, and then I can go ahead and take my tail end and just kind of wiggle it and then kind of push this forward, and it'll slide into a slip knot, and then it slips. That's why they call it a slip knot, and then I can from there slide it onto my crochet hook. So you can do your slip knot of whatever method you prefer. And then we're going to go ahead and chain 41 for this project. So to chain, you simply yarn over your hook, and then you pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So we're going to do that 41 times. Okay, so now I have a chain of 41. And I'm just going to draw you a picture real quick of what we are going to do. So we're going to make a square neck. Oops, that's almost a square. And then our back and our front are going to meet up. So this will be the back, and we want to make that back even. So we're going to chain 6 here, which we've already done, and then we'll have 6 on this side, and then we want that front to match over, so we'll do 12 there, and then 6 on the other sides. And then for our corners right here, we'll do another stitch, and then when we do our second row, we'll put 3 stitches into that corner stitch. So if we add all this up, it's gonna be 40, but we chain 41 because we're gonna start on our next row the second chain from the hook. So that's just kind of an explanation of what we're gonna do. Okay, so what I've gone ahead and done is I've marked my neckline with safety pins. This is optional, you don't have to do it, I just think it's easier. So I followed from right here, I counted to 6, and then in the 7th stitch I put a safety pin, or you can put a stitch marker. Then again, that was my 7th right there, so I counted 6 again, and then in my 7th stitch I put a stitch marker, and then we will go across here. So I counted 13, and in the 13th stitch I put a stitch marker, and then we're going to do this side. So count 6 in the 7th space, put a stitch marker, and then you should have 7 chains left. And the reason we have 7 instead of 6 is because we're going to skip this first chain from the hook when we start our first row here. So the loop on my hook doesn't count. I'm skipping this first one, and we're going to go into the second chain from the hook with a half double crochet. So to do that, you yarn over, then you go into your space, then you yarn over again, and you pull through. You'll come out, you'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over again, and pull through all 3 of those loops. Now you should have 6 stitches that you'll be able to do before you get to this safety pin here. And we're just going to do half double crochets for this first row. Okay, so we should have 6 half double crochets right there. And then in this 7th stitch, we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna remove it so it's easier to get to. We're gonna go ahead and do 3 half double crochets into that same stitch. So I'm gonna do 1, and then I'll do it again into that same stitch, and that's gonna create our neckline. So there's the second one, this will be the third one. Okay, and then we're gonna do 6 more half double crochets until we get to that other safety pin. Okay, so I'm going to remove this safety pin, and then we're going to go ahead and just like we did before, we're going to do 3 half double crochets into the same space. So there's 2, and this will be our 3rd. Okay, now we'll just go back to doing half double crochets, and we're going to do it for 12 across the front here. So I'll meet you when we're to this next safety pin. So I'm going to go ahead and remove it, and then again I will do 3 half double crochets into that same space. Okay, and that created our corner here, and then again we'll do 6 half double crochets until we come to our next safety pin. So I'll meet you there. All right, last corner, take it out, do 3 half double crochets into the same stitch. And this will be 3. Okay, and then that's creating our last corner. Then you should have 6 stitches left to the end of this row. So I'll go ahead and meet you at the end of this row. Alright, so that is what our neckline looks like in red. Now it's optional, but I'm going to go ahead and change colors right now. And you can switch colors however you want. But all I'm going to do is cut my yarn off, and then I will grab my next piece of yarn just like it's going to be pull it through. So just like it's there. Okay, and then I go ahead and chain 1 and pull everything nice and tight, and then I'm ready to begin this next row, which is gonna be half double crochets all the way around. So to do that, I'm gonna yarn over, go into this first space, yarn over, pull through, and pull through 3 loops. So I'm going to do that all the way across. And then we will worry about tying in these ends later. Okay, so I've done 6 half double crochets, so here would be my 7th. And then in the 8th space, which is the center of these 3 half double crochets we did from the last line, we'll go ahead and do 3 half double crochets into that space. So it's up to you, whichever is the easiest way for you to find them. You can count and put stitch markers in if you want, or you can just look and see and be like, oh, there's where my corner is, so I'm going to go into that stitch. So there's 3 into that one, and then we're just going to do half double crochets all the way across till we get to this corner. And then when we get to our corner where we did 3 half double crochets into that same space in the last row, we're just going to go ahead and do that again into the middle space. So here is my corner, there's my 3 stitches, and I go ahead and do one last one in here, and now in the center space you can go ahead and do 3 stitches all into that same space. Okay, and that makes my corner, and then I'll go ahead and go into the next space with just half double crochets into each space. And then once again, when we get to the corner, we'll find our 3 stitches in the same space, and then we'll do 3 into that center stitch again. And we're going to do that on each corner. And if you wanted, you could have put your safety pin or your stitch marker there after each row so you can find it. I just like to look for it. Okay, so there's our first one that's in that stitch, and then we'll do 3 into this center stitch. Okay, and then we've got that corner, and we'll do across the front, and then we'll do the corner on the other side. So I'll meet you when I'm to the next corner. Alright, and once we're there, go ahead and do a half double crochet into that first half double crochet of this cluster, and then in the second one we will do 3 into that same stitch. Okay, so there's our third, and then this stitch right here is the last one that was in that cluster, and then we'll just keep going from there, and then we'll do the same thing when we get to the next corner, which I think we got it figured out by now. So I'll go ahead and meet you when I am to the end of this row over here. Okay, and then once you're to the end, all you're going to do is chain 1 and then flip your work, and we're just going to do another row of half double crochets with increases in the corner all the way around. So I've done 2 stitches, here's 3, Okay, and then once you get to the 8th stitch, you will do 3 half double crochets into that same stitch, which is just like the previous round. You can find and see where there are 3 stitches in the same stitch and then find the middle one, and that's where you're going to make your corner is on top of that. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you do this row on your own, and I'll meet you when I'm to the end right here. Alright, when I come to the end, I'm gonna go ahead and do my last half double crochet into this last stitch right here. Okay, and then I will chain 1 and then turn my work. And in this row, we are gonna put in the armholes. So I'm gonna go ahead and use stitch markers. So all I've done is I've put a safety pin in my corner stitch. So where those 3 half double crochets are in the same stitch, in the center one, I've put a safety pin. So if you were counting stitches, that's going to be 10 this way, and then 12 this way, 18 here. This is going to be 12 this way, and this is going to be 10. So we have chained 1 and turned our work, and we're just going to do half double crochets until we get to our corner where our stitch marker is. Okay, and once you've made it to your corner, if you put in your stitch marker, you can go ahead and remove it, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a half double crochet where it was. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and chain 5 from there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then I'm going to connect it to where my stitch marker is over here, which we are skipping 12 stitches if you're counting. So I'm going to connect it with a half double crochet into that very corner stitch, and it might actually be easier if you remove your stitch marker. So like so. So that's going to be my armhole. Okay, and then we'll just do half double crochets all the way across the front until we get to here, and we'll do our next armhole. So I'll meet you when I'm there. Okay, so I am there. So I'm removing my stitch marker and I am going into that center stitch. And you'll end up with 20 half double crochets here. So I said that there was 18 in between our stitch markers. So if you count those where our stitch marker was, you will have 20 total stitches all together along this front. So once you get that done, then you'll go ahead and chain 5. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and now you're skipping these 12 stitches. You're coming over here and you're finding your center stitch, and you're going to go ahead and half double crochet into that stitch without twisting our chain and keeping everything pulled tight. So, okay, I'm going to do that again. So I'm yarning over, going in, yarning over, pulling through, coming out, keeping this tight, yarning over again, and then pulling through all those loops. And that's our first half double crochet. And then we will just do 10 more half double crochets all the way to the end. Okay, so this is what it looks like when we have our armholes completed. So on this edge here we have 10 stitches, and then we chained 5, we skipped 12, and then we did 20 half double crochets across the front. We chained 5 again, and we skipped 12 for our armhole, and then we have 10 left. So now we're gonna do our next row. So we're gonna chain one and turn our work, and we're just gonna do half double crochets into each stitch. So I'm gonna meet you when I'm to this chain to show you how to do that. So when you're at the chain, make sure that you don't get it twisted, then it's straight, and you're just gonna do half double crochets into the chain, just like you would if you were starting with a foundation chain. So you're just getting that top loop and doing half double crochets into all 5 of these chains. Okay, and then once you've made it through your armhole, you can go ahead and go back through both of those loops. So there's that, and then you're still doing half double crochets the way across the front here, and then when you get to this armhole, you'll do it the same way. So I will meet you at the end of this row again. Okay, so here we are to the end of that row. This is what our little dress is starting to look like. Okay, and I've grabbed a doll, and I'm gonna just go ahead and try it on her at this point and make sure that it fits the way I want. This is a Journey Girl, so she's a little bit smaller than an American Girl doll. But it's still gonna fit pretty similar. It would be a tiny bit tighter if this was an American Girl doll. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and attach my blue collar. So to do that, I'm just gonna take my crochet hook and pull it through and grab it. And then from here, I'm gonna show you 2 options to do with your blue. So whichever one you're doing, you need to chain 3. So here's 3. I'm going to show you how to do the star stitch first. If you don't like the star stitch, it's okay, just keep watching and I will show you an alternative. Or if you don't like either of those options, you can always just do half double crochets or even like a single crochet for this round, whatever you prefer. The star stitch, I have chained 3, and then from the second chain from my hook, so this is my first, this is going to be my second, I am simply just going to go into that space. Okay, I'm yarning over and I'm pulling out a loop. So now I have 2 loops on my hook. Okay, and then I'm going to do that into the next chain space, yarning over, and I'm coming out and I'm pulling out, and now I have 3 loops on my hook. Okay, and now from here I'm going to go ahead and start on my actual work. So I'm going to go into that first space, I'm yarning over and I'm pulling out. Now I'll have 4 loops on my hook. I'm going to go ahead and go into the second space, yarning over, pulling out, and I have 5 loops on my hook. Okay, so I'm just going to do that one more time. I'm going into that space, yarning over, and coming out with a loop, and I have a total of 6 loops on my hook, which is the key number we want for the star stitch. Okay, so now I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull through all 6 of those loops, and this is going to create my star, well, part of my star. So the star stitch consists of a bottom row and a top row, and if you can do the bottom row, which is the harder of them, then you can do the top row. So from after I've pulled through all 6 loops, I'm simply just going to chain 1, and that's going to create the eye of my star. Okay, And now here's where it's gonna get tricky. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna insert into that chain I just did, okay? And then I'm gonna yarn over and pull out a loop. So I have 2 loops on my hook, okay? Now in between those 2 stitches right here, or you can call them posts, I'm gonna go insert, yarn over, and pull up a loop. So now we have 3 loops, and this is kind of what we did before when we had a chain of 3 right here, okay? So there's 1, 2, 3. Now in that same space where the stitch is coming out, I'm gonna go in there, I'm yarning over, and I'm pulling out a loop. So now I have 4 loops on my hook, so I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna go into this space this time, I'm yarning over and I'm pulling out a loop. Okay, now I have 5, so I'm gonna do that one more time. Go into that space, yarn over, and pull out a loop, which gives me 6, which is the key number I want. So then I'm gonna yarn over and pull through all 6 of those loops, okay? And now I'm ready to chain 1, which gives me an eye, and I go into that eye with my crochet hook, and I yarn over, and oops, I'm gonna do that again. So I'm gonna go into that eye, then I will yarn over and come out. I will have 2 loops on my hook, right? Okay, and then I will go in between these 2 right here, yarn over and come out, 3 loops on my hook. Okay, and then into this space, which is the same space that has that stitch coming out of it, yarn over, come out. I have 4 loops on my hook, so now I'll have 2 spaces right here. Okay, so that should give me 5 loops, so I need to do it one more time. Yarn over, pull out. I have 6. I'm gonna go ahead and yarn over and pull through all 6 of those loops. Then I will chain 1, which is the eye of my star. Then I will go ahead and go into that eye of my star. I'm going to yarn over and pull out a loop. Okay, and you're just going to repeat that all the way across until you get to the end. So I've completed this one. I'll just do the last one with you. So we're going to go into that eye, yarn over, and pull through. Then we're going to go in between those posts, yarn over and pull through. So there we have 3, and then we'll go into the same one and pull through, and we'll have 4. So you have 4 loops before you start into your work, and then you're going to have a total of 6. So I have 2 spaces left here at the end of my row. If you have 3, that's okay. Okay, so there is 5, and then this will be my 6th. So yarn over, and then I can pull through all 6 of those stitches. Okay, and then I will chain 1 like I did. So then if you have an extra space here, that's fine. You can just half double crochet into it, which we're gonna do. So I'm just gonna go ahead and half double crochet into this last space. So if you had an extra one, you would have a little bit more of a gap here, which is just a characteristic of the star stitch. Okay, so now we're ready to do the top of it. So we're gonna turn our work, and this is what it looks like on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to chain 1, and now we're gonna find that eye of the star, which you can see, and we're gonna do just single crochets into that eye, but we're going to do it twice. So there is one single crochet. We're going to go back into the eye and do another, and that's all this top row is just single crochets into the eye twice. Okay, I'll do it one more time. Okay, so here's the back side. I'll flip it over so you can see the front side. That is, so we have like 2 stars there, so you just complete that. Okay, and I am going to change colors to white. You could do red if you wanted to keep up the pattern of red, white, and blue. I really want my star stitch to stand out, so that's why I'm doing white. So all I've done is just attached it on the end here, and then I am flipping my work, and I'm going to go ahead and chain 1, and this white is just going to be a row of half double crochets all the way across. And you can do as many rows of this as you want until you're ready to start your skirt, but I'm just going to go ahead and do 1, and then our next row I'm going to start the skirt. So I'll meet you when I am to the end of this row. Okay, so I have made it to the end of my row of half double crochets. So here's what my back looks like, and here's my front with my star stitch popping out. I'm going to go ahead and connect my work now. So I'm just going to make sure that I have my right side facing outwards, and then I'm going to simply slip stitch into the other side here to join my work. Okay, and now we are ready to start our netting. So to do that, I am going to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then I'm going to skip 2 stitches and do a single crochet into the next stitch like so. Okay, now I'm going to chain 4 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, then I'm skipping 2 stitches and single crocheting into the next stitch like so. So this is going to be our first row of our netting, and I'm just going to repeat that all the way around. So chain 4, skip 2 stitches, single crochet all the way around. Okay, and then when you get to the end, just go ahead and finish your last single crochet. And if you ended right here, that would be fine, perfect, even better. If you don't, just go ahead and slip stitch into this space right here. Okay, and that's the first round of our netting. This is how to do the half double crochet in blue. If you need to skip this part, you can. So I've just joined it and then done a chain of 3, and then I'm going to go ahead and skip this next stitch. I'm going to yarn over and go into the next stitch with a half double crochet. Okay, so there is going to be a little space there, and then I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to skip the next stitch again, and I will do a half double crochet into this next stitch. So pull through all of those. Okay, and then I'm going to chain 1 again and do a half double crochet here. pull through all of those. So it's kind of creating this little, these holes actually, which for the 4th of July, it's okay to have holes in your dress. Okay, chaining one and then doing half double crochet again. So I'm going to repeat that all the way across. So we started with a chain of 3, then we did half double crochet, we chained 1, half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet, skipping a stitch in between. So we're just going to repeat that all the way across. So I'm going to go ahead and meet you when I'm at the end of this row. Alright guys, I have come almost to the end of my row, and I've done a half double crochet into the second to last stitch. So it would be ideal if I had 2 more spaces, but since I don't, I'm just going to chain 1 and go into the last stitch. I am not a perfectionist and I don't always take time to count. So I could have miscounted. So if you have a different number of stitches or yours turns out differently at this point, don't panic. Just end it right there if that's how many stitches you have. So from there, we're ready to begin our next row, which is just going to be a row of half double crochets into every space. So I'm going to go ahead and go into this space. We chained 1, I don't know if I said that, and then turned our work at the end of the last row. And then just in every stitch you have, just do a half double crochet, and that's all we're going to do for this row. Like I said, I'm not into counting, so I don't even know what row we are on. But we're just going to do half double crochets all the way across, so I'll meet you at the end of this row. Okay, so I've made it all the way around. That's my last stitch. That was in the top of that half double crochet, and where I chained here, I could go ahead and do 1 more half double crochet. Again, we're not too big on counting. Don't really know how it's going to turn out, so you can finish it however you want. But then from there, I'm just going to slip stitch to connect these together. So in this first stitch up top here, yarn over and pull through all, connecting my dress. Alright, so I slip stitched into the top of that and chain 1. I'm actually going to go ahead and chain 3, and then we're going to repeat this row we did right here. So I'm going to skip the stitch and then go into the second stitch with a half double crochet like so. Then I'm going to chain 1 and skip a stitch again and do a half double crochet, and that's all we're going to do for, oops, that was a double crochet, but you get the idea. We're going to repeat this all the way around. So do a half double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, do a half double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, half double crochet, all the way around. Okay, so I've almost made it all the way around. It looks like I have 2 spaces left until this chain that I did. So it's up to you. If you have a different amount of stitches, you can finish it differently, but I'm just going to skip these 2 spaces and slip stitch right here, and it's not going to make that huge of a difference. So I've slip stitched there, and now I'm just going to pull through and tie off, and I'm going to switch colors and start on my netting. The netting is not going to be seen, so it does not matter which color you use. So I'm just switching back to white. mostly for visual purposes. If you didn't want to change colors right here, you could remain with your blue or whatever color you're using. Or even if you have a random color that's not part of your project color that you want to use to get rid of, you can, because it won't be seen. So I've just tied on right here, and I'm gonna go ahead and chain 2, and you can start anywhere, it doesn't matter. So I've chained 2, I'm actually gonna chain 4, and then I'm gonna go with a single crochet into each one of these spaces. So I chained 4 there again, I'm gonna chain 4 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and go into this space and do a single crochet. So I'm just making these loops, if you can see them, and we're going to do that all the way around. So chain 4, 1, 3, 4, single crochet into these spaces, chain 4 again, do this all the way around. So here I am almost all the way around. This is what my first row of netting kind of looks like. So I've chained 4 here, and I'm going to go into this space right here and just do a single crochet. Okay, and then I'm going to chain 4 one more time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I want to go back into this spot right here, and I'll just do a slip stitch so that it's completed all the way around. Okay, and then to start our second round, I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the 2 chains where we started. And this is our knitting, so it's going to be underneath our ruffles, so we're not going to see it. And then I'm going to go ahead and just do a single crochet around that chain. Okay, and now I'm ready for my next row. So I'm going to chain 4. Okay, and then I'm going to go into this chain space here and simply do a single crochet, and that's creating our second row of netting. So then I'm going to chain 4 again. Okay, so there's 4. And then again, I'll go into this chain space and do a single crochet, chain 4, single crochet, chain 4, single crochet. So that's what we're going to do all the way around. So I'll meet you when we're at the end again. Okay, so here I am almost to the end. I'll do my last chain 4. Okay, and then to complete this, I'm going to go into this space right here, or you could even go around, but it's going to be the 1, 2, 3, third chain from where we started, and just slip stitch so that we've completed our rows evenly. Okay, so now at this point you could continue doing netting rows if you want. Ruffles afterwards, I've decided to try it this way and just do 2 rows of netting and then do my ruffles and do my netting as I go along, so that way I can decide how many rows of ruffles I need. But if you are gonna do the netting all the way around, I would recommend putting a stitch marker at the end and beginning of your rows so you can tell where they start and end. Okay guys, so this is an option. You can complete all of your netting and then do your ruffles on top of it. The way I'm actually going to show you is going to be to complete my netting as I do my ruffles, but this is another option. You can do it whichever way is easiest for you. So here I've tried it on my doll to decide how long I want it to be, and I think I want to make a few more rows of netting. That's why I decided to do the netting as I go, but you can do it whichever way you want. Like I said, the way I'm going to show you is to do the netting as I go, so I can add more layers as I keep going. I'll explain how to do the short ruffles and the long ruffles as I go along. Alright, I'm also just going to draw a picture to kind of plan out the bottom half of my dress or the skirt layer. So I have 8 layers of my netting, but what's actually going to happen is, because I'm not starting at my layering because I want to cover it up, I'm going to start with my first row of ruffles right here. So if you look at her, this is going to be that row, and then this right here would be the first layer of netting, and then right here would be our second layer of netting where our next ruffle will go. So I have 8 rows of netting, and so I ended with blue, so I'm going of a pattern of red, white, blue. So right here, I'm going to start with red. So I'm going to plan that out. Just going to draw it out. So these are going to be my red. And then I'll use black right here to show my white layer. Okay, and then this layer will be blue. Okay, and then this is gonna be red again. And then what I'm hoping, because I haven't detached my white part, it's still attached, I'm hoping that I'll just be able to connect it on the bottom there to complete my last layer of ruffles, and then that will make my dress the length I want it to be. So we're gonna try. Okay, and then here's a picture of the one with longer layers. So of course our ruffle stitches are gonna start up here like they did before, and then we're starting with red, and those ruffles are gonna be an extra layer, so they're gonna go all the way and kind of hang past our third, this is our third layer of netting. And so these are netting 2. I'm just emphasizing every third one. Okay, so there's the red, and then whatever color you go with next is gonna hang all the way over, and you're gonna skip 3 layers of netting again before you start the next one. So this could be our white, and it would cover it, and then you just keep repeating that. We could do this one red, and then finally once you get to the end, you'll just go ahead and do that last one like so. Okay, so I'm gonna do my first ruffle in red. So I'm going to attach it in this space right here, and you can attach it however you want. I'm just gonna tie it in a knot for now. Okay, and then I'm going to, so I'm putting it on this last row we did before we did our netting. So I am going to start out with a chain of 3. So there's 1, 2, 3, okay, and then in that same space I'm going to do a double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, go in that same space, and do a double crochet. So that first chain of 3 counted as a double crochet. Now I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to go into that second space in between our netting and do a double crochet. Okay, and then I'm going to go back into that same space and do another double crochet. So we just basically did a shell stitch or a fan stitch, and we're going to do those in between our netting. So right here where our netting is, we're going to skip that space, and then we're going to go here with a double crochet. So we'll do 1 in that space, and then we'll go back and we'll do 2 in that same space. Okay, and then we'll chain 1, and then we'll go to the next space with 2 double crochets again. Okay, and then we'll just repeat that all the way around. If you did the version of the half double crochets, you'll do it the same way, except for you will have a stitch in between your fan stitches. So in between where the 2 double crochets are, you'll see the blue stitch. Okay, so once you've made it all the way around, you can just go ahead and slip stitch into that very top where you first started with that chain 3. And I have a little gap right here, but it's fine. See, it's not going to be that noticeable. So here's where if you want your ruffles to be longer and like not short, we're just going to repeat that same stitch. So I've slip stitched into that first chain 3, and then I've slip stitched to the center, and then I'm going to go ahead and chain 3 again. Okay, and then go into this space with a double crochet, and I'm just doing my shell stitch again on top. So then I've chained 1, and then I'm going to go in again with another half double crochet, and then one more time to complete this fan stitch. Okay, so there it is. So I'm just doing that same stitch that we did previously on top. So I'm skipping all these and going to where I did that chain, and then starting again with the double crochet. So you'll do 2 double crochet, and then you'll do a chain, and then you'll go back into that same space with 2 more double crochet. So that's all you're going to do for this round. Okay, and if you wanted your ruffles to be shorter, they kind of have, as you can see, there's more gaps in them. You would just skip that last row we did. So when you get all the way around, you can just go ahead and slip stitch into the top of that first chain 3 we did to start these stitches. So I'm gonna get in there and slip stitch. Okay, and now whether you did this row or not, you're ready to start your next shell stitch. So to do that, I am going to double crochet into this space right here 5 times. So I'm just starting from where I've slip stitched, and I'm doing a double crochet 1, and then I'm going to go in back into that same space, do it again. So here's 2, this will be 3, 4, okay, and then this will be our last one, 5. Okay, and then you'll go into that space in between your shells, so right here, and all you'll do is slip stitch, okay? And then you're ready to start your next shell stitch again. So just like we did before, we're simply just gonna do 5 half double crochets into that same stitch, and then when we get that done, we'll do a slip stitch right here, and then we'll just repeat that all the way around. Okay, so here I am almost to the end. I'm going to do my last half double crochet to complete my final shell stitch, and then I'll just simply go ahead and do a slip stitch to finish it off and connect it. I'll cut that off, tie it, and then sew it in. Okay, so now if we look on our underside, this is where we finished with our netting. So if you're doing the shorter ruffles, now you would just start your row of ruffles on the second layer of netting. If you're doing the longer ruffles, you want to do another layer of netting. So because I did 3 essentially rows here, then I want to wait until I get to my 3rd row of netting before I attach it. So I'm just gonna finish up another couple of rows of netting, and then I can start my next row of ruffles. So I'm just slip stitching is all till I'm to the center of this chain of 4. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do a single crochet around it, and then I'll chain 4 just like we did before and do another row of netting. I'll go into this loop with a single crochet, chain 4 again, do that all the way around. So I have 2 rows of netting. I'll meet you when we have 4 rows of netting. Alright guys, so here I have 4 layers of my under netting. And because I have chosen white to do my netting and I want my next layer of netting to be white, I'm going to go ahead and I'm already attached, but if you're using a different color, you can go ahead and attach however you want. But we're going to work, so because I have 4 layers of netting here, I want to work on the 3rd, and I just did the 4th. So I don't have to worry about doing the netting on top of my ruffles, because that could get complicated. So all we're going to do is the same thing we did up here. We're going to do half double crochets into each space. So I'm going, I don't know if you can see, here is the under layer of my netting. So I'm going to do 2 half double crochets around this space right here. Okay, so we'll do 1, sorry, I mean double crochets, not half double crochets. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch so I'm in this space, and then I'm going to start with a chain of 3 for this one. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, okay, just to start, and then the rest will be double crochets. So we're gonna go in there. Okay, so there was 1 on that space, and then I'm gonna go over here to this space, but I'm going to chain 1 in between. So now I'll go over here to this space and do a double crochet. Okay, and I'm keeping my netting underneath. Okay, and then I'm gonna, so that counted as 1 essentially fan stitch, and then I don't need to chain right here because I want that to be my fan stitch, and then I'm going to go again to this space and do a double crochet, so 2 of them into that space. Okay, so there's that. And then, so these are my chain 4s right here, and this is where I did that single crochet. So then on the other side of that single crochet, after I chain 1, I will do 2 more double crochets. Except for, yeah, here we go. Okay, so there was a double crochet, and then on the other side of that one, we'll just start again. Right, so it's kind of, this is my chain 4 and this is my single crochet on it. So on one side of it I want 2 double crochets, and then on the other side of it I want 2 double crochets. So all we're doing is 2 double crochets into every space here on our netting all the way around. So I'll let you do that on your own, and then I'll meet you when I'm finished. Okay, so I've made it all the way around, and then we're ready to start our next stitch. So remember, if you're doing the shorter ruffles, you can just slip stitch and then start your fan stitch by doing 5 double crochets into this space. If you want the longer ruffle, go ahead and slip stitch all the way to this space right here. Okay, and then you'll start with the chain 3, which will count as your first double crochet, and then you'll go into that stitch with a double crochet, and then you'll chain 1, and then you'll go back into that same space with 2 more double crochets. Okay, so there's 1, this will be 2. Okay, and then you'll go ahead and find your next space, which is not this one, it's this one all the way over here. So you're gonna have these fan stitches on top of each other. So we'll do that all the way around, and I'll go ahead and meet you there. Okay, so once you get done with this row, then you'll start on your next row of shell stitches, which when you finish the last one, you'll simply just do a slip knot into that chain 3 that we did at the beginning of this row, and then you'll start off with 5 double crochets into each of these spaces, and then you'll slip knot here, and you'll just repeat that all the way around like we did on this row. Okay, then you'll just keep on repeating the same pattern of ruffles for however many layers you want. Be sure to do it on either the second or the third layer of netting, depending on if you're doing the short or long ruffles. So here I am adding more layers of netting after I've done my blue ruffles. So just keep on adding netting and layers of ruffles for however long you want your dress to be. Okay, and then once you have completed your dress, you can finish it up by tying it off, and then you can take a needle and weave in your ends. You'll need to weave in all the ends of each layer of ruffles so they don't sew. So just take your needle and stick it in there and hide those ends, and then go ahead and cut off the end so it doesn't show, and then This is what our dress looks like when it's finished. We'll also have to tie or sew in all these ends on the back bodice. So do it the same way, thread a needle, or you can do it however you want. This is just the way I do it. And then weave it back and forth a few times in between so you can't see it. Okay, and then you can finish up your dress however you want. I've decided to use hook and loop or Velcro, and I'm just hot gluing it to each side. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and accessorize mine. And just add this flag pin right there, maybe. Stick it on there. Okay, and then when I was also at the dollar store, I found this cute unicorn 4th of July guy. He was so cute I couldn't leave him there, and I thought he was the perfect size to go with the American Girl dolls. I also found these mini hats, and I got 4 of them for $1.25. They're a little smaller than my doll's head, but we're gonna try them out and see how they look. Let me know what you think of the hats in the comments. I'm not really in love with them, but I am in love with the unicorn. I'm kind of thinking the hats are dorky, but the dresses turned out cute. Yeah, no, not into the hats. Really like the unicorn. Really liked how the dresses turned out, so hopefully yours turned out good too. Thanks for watching, guys.